got to chat about the winners and the losers. And who is your first winner of Week 13, mate?
One of my winners is the NFC East. It's quickly becoming, in my opinion, probably the most interesting division, with the Giants and the football team lighting it up. And I saw a post the other day, and it's actually legit, that there's a sniff that both of them might make the playoffs, because the NFC is that much worse than the AFC. And you've got that many teams sitting at 5 and 7, like the Niners, the Bears, Vikings are 6 and 6. But I mean, if they keep up their form, there's a genuine chance, which would be unreal.
They don't have to play each other, so I guess if they both win out, because what are they both on 5 wins at the moment?
Yeah, they're both 5 and 7.
And it's looking like at the moment, if you win 9 games, that'll get you into the NFC. But the only thing is, if they both win 9, one of them might miss out and one might still 7th. But that's pretty spicy. I'll be honest, I'll be shocked if they both win out, but they are in great form.
One of them has to make it, though, for winning the division.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But, yeah, it's actually become a very interesting division. Is it like the only division where the title's still up for grabs? There's a couple out there, but most of them are pretty much decided, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's more focused on the wild card, so that's making this interesting. And now we've got Jalen Hurts coming in for Carson Wentz, so who knows, the Eagles could come back a new team or come back even worse than they already have been. To be honest,
It'll be pretty tough.
I was looking at the scores before. They've been playing so bad, but they haven't even been getting smashed. Like, they've been playing good teams and only losing by like a touchdown or 2.
Yeah. I feel like they've been getting killed, and then just Wentz chucks up a couple junk time touchdowns at the end to make it a respectable scoreline.
Yeah, that is true. And Dallas, they're not looking too bad either, but they're pretty much all but out of it at the moment. I think it would have to take a severe dip in form from the Giants and Washington for them to make it at this point, but they're not looking too bad. Lost to a pretty solid Ravens side, but yeah, very excited. I can't lie, I'm on the Washington bandwagon. You're on the Giants bandwagon. Going into the season, I would have said I was a Steelers fan if I had to pick a team. I don't really have a team, but I can't lie. I was on the couch yesterday, absolutely, 2 days ago, going for the football team. I was up and about with about 2 minutes to go when they pulled off a stop. I was all about it. JD McKissick's also my fantasy team, so that gave me some extra motivation to get around them. But pretty impressive that they got the win without excluding Terry McLaurin, their best offensive player, and Antonio Gibson. That's pretty impressive from Washington. They're going in this week as underdogs, which is pretty surprising to me, given they just beat an undefeated side, but we'll talk about that later in the episode. Who are you putting your money with at the moment in that race? Are you backing your men, the Giants, or?
Well, we'll see when we do our updated
that's actually
playoff
very
bracket.
true. Yeah, I won't spoil it. I'm going to start with, in my opinion, the clear biggest winner of the week, and it's the Cleveland Browns.
Huge.
With their record's been pretty elite all season. I think they were 8-3 going into the week, but or maybe 9-3. I can't remember. But they hadn't really had a big win yet. They'd been beating a lot of bad teams by 2 or 3 points. Like, one comes to mind, they beat the Bengals by 3 points, I think. And they just needed a statement win, really, for people to take them serious, and this was it. Although the margin in the end wasn't that big over the Tennessee Titans, because I think Tennessee scored 28 points in the second half or something. They put on an absolute clinic in that first half. Baker, he decided to ball out, and they're basically all but confirmed in the playoffs at the moment, and I think that we haven't had them in the playoff bracket at all going into this week, so pretty big win from the Browns in terms of that standpoint. And now, are you taking them serious as AFC contenders yet, or do you still think they're kind of just making up the numbers in the playoffs?
Yeah, no, I'm finally sold. They were my other winner of the week, and huge win over the Titans. So I'm finally sold that they're legit. And I was worried about Baker Mayfield, but he seems to be able to put up decent performances, even though we don't really rate him.
Yeah, I think he still could put up a stinker. Like, we're not. I don't think we can rely on him just yet. But
Yeah.
on his day in a playoff game, I think he could do quite well. Do you think they're good enough to beat the Chiefs or the Steelers though, or do you think they're not at that level yet?
I don't think they're. I don't think we can consider them like contenders to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you have to give him credit though, because 9-3, that's pretty elite.
yeah. It's going to be interesting because at the moment it's looking like they're going to play the Titans or the Bills, depending on where they come. The Titans have obviously just put on a bit of a clinic against, and the Bills have had like the worst run defense in the whole league basically over the last 6 weeks. So, and the Browns are a huge run team, so it's actually not looking too bad for that first week of playoffs for the Browns. I'm actually that pumped for the playoffs. It's getting a bit silly now,
Yeah,
but
legit.
yeah, the second half was maybe a little bit of a worry, but I think when any team goes like 35 points up or whatever they were, I feel like can't really take into account too much what happens from there on out. All right, so you said that's your second winner, so sorry about stealing that one, mate. I should have left it, but this is a bit of a rogue winner because it was a pretty irrelevant match. But your men, you actually have quite a lot of men to those listening. But the Detroit Lions, I've chucked them in the winners list. That theory that whenever a coach gets sacked, the team comes out and win is actually
I know it's legit. It's actually
it's a
fun.
genuine thing. I think you predicted it last week actually, but yeah, puts them on the same record as the Bears. Their victory did. They're both sitting at 5-7, and the Vikings are at 6-6, I believe. So they're not even that far away from second in the division. I was looking at their schedule; it's pretty hard. So I don't think they're going to get off the bottom of the NFC North table, but it's been a pretty bad year for them. And I think winning a game against a division rival, eliminating them from playoffs with an interim coach without DeAndre Swift or Kenny Golladay, I think that's going to provide some hope moving forward.
Yeah,
That they can do it. They have a tough one this week against the Packers, but in
mate,
a
they're gonna
division
get
match,
raped.
nah, I'm not buying that.
Really?
I think division matches you can throw everything out the window, as we saw with the Chiefs Broncos on the weekend. I think, like, I don't think they'll win, but I think like it wasn't the first time they've met this year. I think the Packers beat them by like 20 or something. But I have to say, it was a bad day for the Bears in general. Eliminated from playoffs basically, but Mitchell Trubisky was a pretty big winner in my opinion. In the last 2 weeks, the Bears have scored more points in any game that Foles started in. So I think he's looking like the clear quarterback moving forward for the rest of the season. Nick Foles, yes, he's a little bit more stable, less turnovers, but he just doesn't provide much in terms of point scoring or just chance creation. And I don't know. I reckon if Mitchell Trubisky keeps up this form for the rest of the year, I don't know if he'll be their starter next year, but I could see them bringing in a free agent or drafting someone to contend with Trubisky for the spot. Uh, like I think the way he's playing at the moment, I don't think you can just like delist him. So
Yep.
um, I think if Trubisky keeps this up, it's going to do him pretty well in terms of where he stands as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Do you think a team, say Chicago, come out and say we don't want him? Do you think a team should take a risk on him as their starter, or do you think he will be
No.
relegated to a bench somewhere in the NFL?
Yeah, I reckon bench. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that would pick him up. Maybe Washington, because they're not going to have a high draft pick anymore. But yeah, it's unlikely, I'd say.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, I don't think anyone would take a risk on him. So I think it's probably better off for the Bears to just keep him and see if he sprouts into anything special.
Agreed.
Probably will have a new coach as well next year. I don't think Matt Nagy will see out this season going into next year, so that could also spark something out of Trubisky. So I reckon it's worth keeping him. That same question, I'll pose it to you. Carson Wentz, he's been benched. Jalen Hurts moves in. Do you think another team? Obviously, this one's a little bit harder to chat about because there's a huge contract in terms of Carson Wentz. I think if they're to cut him or something, it's like a 70 mil cap hit or something like that. They have to pay him 70 mil. But do you think a team should take a chance on him as their starter next year, or do you think they should just leave Philly with him rotting on the bench?
Yeah, that's a very hard one. I mean, he has so much pedigree from the previous 3 years where he was just balling out, but I'd say he's probably more likely than Trubisky, but the salary is an issue. So I don't know. I'm told to see what happens with him though.
Yeah, very excited to
Be
see. I
interesting.
agree with you. It will be interesting. I think the most likely option is that he just stays at Philadelphia just because of the contract. But we saw with Nick Foles, people are happy to take a chance on a big contract. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens there. So yeah, I think it was a good week for Trubisky, despite the Bears losing, and a pretty good week for the Lions. And then my final winner, the Buffalo Bills. I think they looked really, really good. We were pretty big on the 49ers getting up, or not necessarily. I don't know if I think we backed them to get up, but we also liked the spread that was like plus 3 or something like
Yeah.
that. I can't remember. So that was also another reason why we're up and about. But we did think they were going to win this game. But Buffalo looked really, really good. They had a bit of a lull in the middle of the year, but I think the last month, they've shut up all the doubters. And in my opinion, they're looking like a Super Bowl contender, as I thought they were going to be before the season started. Just the way Josh Allen's playing, that offense is just rolling at the moment. And the defense is slowly starting to hit form. We saw them stop most of the Niners' run game, which is pretty near impossible. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the Bills are starting to look really, really good. They've still got a few tough matches left in the season, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But yeah, excited to see what the Bills could do in the playoffs. They do have issues with their own rushing game at the moment. Zach Moss had a bit of a stinker on I can't remember what day they played. I think it was Monday night. And then Devin Singletary's just had a shit career so far, but we'll see what happens there. But their passing game's that good at the moment. I don't even know if they need to run it. So yeah, I'm really frothing the Buffalo Bills at the moment. Probably one of my favorite playoff sides heading into January. Losers of the week, mate. Who have you got here?
Yep. So we just touched on him, but Carson Wentz, big loser, has had an absolute stinker of a season. I'm still a lot of he has to take a lot of the blame, but he has had a pretty rough situation this year with half of his O line out for the season and just no weapons and potentially a shit coach. Doug Peterson's been coming under fire a bit recently, but yeah, Jalen Hurts has been named the starter, which is just dog shit for Wentz, but we'll see what happens. I'll actually back him to bounce back sometime in the near future.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, same.
He's been frustrating to watch this year, I do have to admit, but
Yeah.
I like him based on his past. And yeah, I hope he bounces back. But people reckon that Jalen Hurts getting drafted to Philly really knocked his confidence, but I don't think that can really be an excuse for him. He's just been playing shit. So I have to say, though, they look pretty smart now drafting Jalen Hurts. Everyone was clowning on them drafting a quarterback, and who knows, he could steer them into the playoffs here.
I must say, he looked pretty good when he came on. Threw a few good deep balls.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited to see him play. There was always huge raps on him in college, and he's a big he's a big mobile threat as well, which is the new normal in the NFL. So excited to see what he can do. Hopefully, he provides a bit of a spark because I don't mind the Eagles side. So, yeah, good luck to him, and I hope he kills it. But yeah, it's sad times for Carson Wentz. It's not looking too good for him. And with that huge contract over his head, it's going to be tough for another team to take a chance on him. But I hope he bounces back well. Who's your second loser? Because I've got a few, so don't want to steal your.
So my other one is the Steelers. I think they've lost a lot of respect as well. No one's thinking they're the best team in the comp anymore after that loss to the football team, and they'll have to bounce back for the rest of the year. They've been copping a bit of stick for having an easy run all year, but we'll see when they get to the playoffs if they're the real deal or not. But definitely a big knock losing to Washington this week.
Yeah, 100%. Huge confidence ego decrease for the Steelers side. I have to admit that I think they've been pretty dogged by COVID. Like they got their bye taken away from them at the start of the season.
That is true.
The Titans, and then the Ravens game got pushed to like Wednesday or Thursday or whenever it did. So I think they have been one of the more unlucky teams with that because they haven't themselves really done too much bad. But yeah, James Conner was out. Don't think it would have made a difference though, and that they just couldn't catch the ball. Deontay
Yeah,
Johnson, I love it. I love Deontay Johnson, but Jesus Christ, that bloke cannot catch the footy.
yeah, mate. Him and
Like,
Ebron had about 4 drops each
yeah, I
against
know.
Washington.
If Deontay Johnson had a normal catch rate, like he would genuinely be a top 10 receiver in the
Yeah,
league because
he
he just drops it so much. They just,
he genuinely averages like 16 targets per match. It's actually weird.
yeah, it's starting to become a bit of a problem. Normally, I'd say drops is just something short term, but when you're doing it for quite a few weeks in a row, it's becoming a bit of an issue for
Yeah,
them. But I think I'm not too worried about the drops. I think they'll get that back. I think the offense as a whole is a little bit of a worry. Their run game has been completely stopped over the last month. Yes, James Conner's missed a few games, but I think he was playing pretty bad anyway before he had missed time. And in the last couple of weeks, Benny Snell and stuff haven't been able to get anything going. So there's a lot relying on Big Ben, which in his stage of his career, it's a risk to rely on him that much. But he's been playing well this year, so I'm not too off the Steelers. I think Washington are actually a pretty underrated team, as are the Giants.
yeah.
I think their records are worse than they are. But yeah, not a great loss at all. But I guess the loss had to come at some point. They probably weren't a good enough team to go undefeated. So if you look at it that way, it's probably good to get the loss out of the way now. But they're going in as underdogs this week, but we'll once again talk about that in week 14 predictions. I have to say though, shout out to you, mate. You didn't back it, but you did mention the Browns could beat the Titans and the Washington football team could beat the Steelers. You
I remember.
flirt.
I remember saying the Steelers on upset alert, but I don't remember calling the Browns one. But
No,
I'll take
you
it.
said upset alert for the Washington, and then you also said and the Browns actually. So fair play from you. I think you said they were great value or something because they were paying like $3.50 at the time we recorded it. But yeah, well done from you.
Thanks, mate.
Bit of a god there. I've got three losers, actually four, but two are in the same thing. The Vikings are my first loser. In my opinion, they were pretty much out of playoffs going into this week. But when the Jags are taking you to overtime, I don't think you're a playoff side. They mathematically still have a solid chance. I saw something before saying they're like a 35% chance of making it or something. But for me, they're all but out of it. And considering they beat the Saints in a playoffs game last year, they've taken a lot of steps backwards. I think a lot of people predicted them to decrease in ability this year, but they're 6-6, and I think last year they won like 11 or 12 games. So it's a pretty big step back from the Vikings this year, in my opinion.
Yep.
However, the shining light on the weekend was Justin Jefferson. He's currently running tied second in my wide receiver of the year voting. So Adams is on top, and he is tied with Tyreek Hill in at second. But he had another game of 100 plus yards, his fifth of the year, and in a stacked wide receiver class, he looks like the clear standout at the moment. He's looking like he's seriously breaking out of that pack because there are a lot of good rookies, but he looks like the cleared beast.
Yep.
So they're my first loser. Yeah, he's an absolute beast. The Raiders and the Jets, they're both losers for me this week.
Mate, that was filthy.
Not sure what happened in that one, but the Raiders just scraped a win over the Jets after a last play 46-yard Hail Mary long pass sort of situation. I predicted them to bounce back with a massive win over the Jets, and yes, they did win, but it was certainly not massive, and it certainly wasn't a bounce back. Waller absolutely killed it, had like 200 yards or something. Derek Carr played solid, but it's looking like that Chiefs loss really like fucked them up. They got smacked by the Falcons on the other side of that, and now they almost lost to the Jets. The Jets threw away a pretty sure thing win here. They're now almost looking like a certainty to go 0-16, and it's the first time in NFL history a blitz has occurred in that situation. They blitzed 7 players and had a QB spy. It's like, what is Derek Carr going to rush 46 yards? They went man coverage in the backfield when you've got blokes like Henry Ruggs and Nelson Aguilar. So not sure about those tactics. Greg Williams, the Jets defensive coordinator, did get fired, and his players were kind of just like in it. They weren't holding back after the match. They were just saying it was a shit call and stuff. But it's now looking like they are locked in on Trevor Lawrence, which I guess maybe should be why they're in the winners, because he will be the most positive thing that's happened to the Jets in quite a while. So, poor Trevor Lawrence. It looks like you're going there, brother. But
yeah, mate, I'm scared about that. Imagine he just turns out like Darnold because of the Jets.
Nah, he is next level compared to Darnold.
I pray.
Like, I don't think it will be tough to ball out with the Jets straight away, but I don't think he'll look like Darnold. But Darnold's not even actually been playing that bad the last couple of weeks, to be fair to him. But yeah. Not good footy from the Raiders or the Jets. The Raiders at one point looked like wild card certainties a few weeks ago, and now they're seriously hanging on. And yeah, the Jets, as I mentioned, looked guaranteed that number one pick after losing this one. And my final losers are the Cardinals. I think they've been in here a few weeks in a row, but since the Hail Murray, they've lost 3 in a row, and they're now likely going to have to win 3 of their last 4 to make the playoffs. And they have to play the Giants, Eagles, 49ers, and Rams. So all winnable games, but to win 3 out of those 4, it's going to be very hard for them. This is due to a loss to the Rams. Pretty significant loss. It wasn't really close. Sean McVay has actually never lost to the Cardinals in his time as Rams coach, which doesn't sound that crazy, but when you're considering it's a division rival, it's actually a pretty big thing. So at the moment, Shanahan has McVay in his pocket, and then McVay has Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals in his pocket. So interesting dynamic in that division. At the moment, looking very unlikely for the Cardinals, in my opinion. People think they're still a pretty good chance, but yeah, I'm off them completely. I think they're fucked. So
who do you think's more likely, them or the Vikings? I think are they both 6-6?
Yeah. Well, without spoiling stuff, I've got them both finishing on the exact same record. So.
Oh yeah, we're about to get into our.
Yeah. So in my opinion, it's a 50-50 split, but
So it's a miracle. Oh yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable. Balotelli, Aguero. Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle.